Okay, so let's move on. Let's go on to the trim. Now, there's 3 different types of trim. There's trim in general, there's L trim, and there's R trim. So let's go ahead and say string trimmed equals trim, and that is string here. Ooh, string. So why is this function useful? Well, what it will do first is it will trim the white space from the left and the right hand side of a string. So if we've got white space here and we've got white space here, this function will just return this itself. So let's go ahead and first of all echo out the string so we can see what we've got here. Let's go and refresh. Okay, so you can see that, oh no, that's because it's going to return like that, isn't it? Well, I'm not sure how to show you this as an example, but we could go ahead and echo string trimmed. So this is just basically going to return the trimmed string. I think if we go ahead and put in and MBSP in there, and we put that at the end as well, which is an HTML space, and let's echo out string. Okay, yeah, so now we've got a space at the start and the end of our string. Let's go ahead now and echo out string trimmed, and that should produce, oh no, because I'm using HTML data. Anyway, okay, so let me just explain this rather than demonstrate it. If we were to have a string like this, why might we have a string like this? Well, let's say you were feeding in values from a text file, for example, and you'd use, say, an explode function to get each value separated by a comma into a string. You may have white space on either side. Now this might affect if statements, because you might be comparing, let's say, if the certain value is equal to this that I've just highlighted in blue, when in actual fact it might equal this which I've highlighted in blue, so it might have white space either side. We can use this trim function to trim the white space from the left and the right, which will then just result in the string itself here. So that's the trim function. Alternatively, if you just wanted to trim the left hand side white space, you can use L trim, and vice versa, if you wanted to trim the right hand side white space, you can use R trim. So that is the R trim function, and the left and the standard trim, of course. Okay, so the last we're going to talk about is mainly for security purposes. Let's go ahead and say string is equal to this is a string. Maybe in here we could, yeah, well, we'll leave it as now. This is the add slashes function. So slashes equals add slashes, and we'll supply that with the string. So let's go ahead and echo out string slashes to see the result that we've got. Okay, nothing at the moment. Now let's go ahead and add in image source equals something, so image.jpg, for example. Now the first thing is when we test this, you'll see that it's added slashes before this and this double quotation mark. No, it hasn't. So okay, so okay. Let's go ahead and get rid of this and just put a slash in. So for that, you would use the HTML entities function if you wanted to remove the you know, the HTML code as a whole. So let's go back to that actually, and we'll use the HTML entities function in here, and let's go ahead and refresh. Okay, sorry. Sure that has an underscore somewhere there. No. Okay, so what have I done wrong here? HTML entities. There we go, that was my spelling. So you can see now that we've produced a string with this data here. So what we've done is we've used the add slashes to add slashes just in here. Let's go ahead and remove this add slashes function. and you can see that that's just produced it on its own. So why is this HTML entity, why is this add slashes function useful? Well, it's useful so we don't pass anything that we don't want to. For example, with SQL injection, which I do have another video on, so go ahead and watch that if you haven't already. And if you've used databases before, that will be useful. But add slashes is basically going to add our slashes to escape different characters for security purposes. So now what we can do is go ahead and say echo strip slashes, and there we go. So let's go ahead and get rid of that there, and you can see that we've got rid of them. So we've added slashes here and we've stripped slashes here. Let's just get rid of that again so you can see the difference there. So why would you want to strip slashes? Well, for example, data may be stored in a database if it was going to be produced onto a page for viewing, and you might want to strip the slashes, or add the slashes rather, so this isn't passed as HTML code. Now, why would you want to strip the slashes? If you were, say, putting this data back into a text box for people to edit, so you might have this in an input text box, you want to strip the slashes before you put it into a text box for people to edit, and then you want to obviously add slashes when it's going to be viewed as plain text on a page anywhere on your website. So if you ever find you need to get rid of these to allow, either for SQL query security, or just to display data on your page securely, then the add slashes is the function to use, and to remove this is strip slashes, which will then allow you to view the plain data. So that's a short collection of string functions in PHP. There are many more. You can go to the PHP manual at php.net, have a look through the string functions, but these are the ones that I tend to use. Apart from the string reverse, I tend to use on a regular basis when I'm coding. So yeah, they're the string functions in PHP.